Hello, everyone. I thought it might be helpful to show the resources that are available online for the LH2 era webinar series. So let me take a few minutes and walk you through some of this, so hopefully you can access those easily as we go through the different sessions for the webinar. This is showing the a version, at least, of the LinkedIn event invite. This is in an incognito or private browser session, depending on which browser you use. So it should look somewhat similar to what you may have. Just want to point out that the LinkedIn event gives you information about the webinar, but it is not where you register for it. There's been a little bit of confusion about that, and I think that's common with these LinkedIn events that are external. But in any case, there is a note in that invitation that you can go to my website here to register for it. And what I'd like to point out in the next few minutes is actually all the resources that are available there as well, that I'll be referencing throughout the different sessions. And you can dig deeper into some of these references and resources. So if I copy the website address here and just put that up into the web browser address, we jump right to the site. Anybody who has any trouble with that redirect, that's going from my domain name to this specific address, you can also type in the direct address here. That's the other domain name that I have, if anybody's having any issues with that. So this is the website. Very front up top here is the questions for the upcoming session of the webinar. These are pre-questions. Studies have shown that if you have some questions in mind before you watch something where you're trying to pick up new information, having some questions and answers, even if they're not the right answers in mind, helps you absorb the material and retain it better afterwards. So I thought I'd do that for each of these sessions. So this is the one for the first session. I also have a reading assignment here, and I can show you this is a post, and I'm going to actually include this video as a watching assignment as well. So if you click on that, it just goes to the blog that I have, LH2 era blog, and it has that particular reading assignment. And while we're here, I'll point out some features of the blog here. First of all, you can pick out which language, if you'd like to see it in a different language. And it doesn't convert the graphics, but it does convert the text to whatever language that you're interested in. And then you can go back to the original, which is in English, if you choose to, and it does that. And then after reading a particular blog post with whatever information you're interested in, if you go to the bottom, it has some of the popular posts. So if you're curious about what other people are reading, this is the highest read posts that are on this blog. So you can click on any of these if you'd like to. And then at the bottom here, there's a contact form. If there's information or feedback or thoughts you might have, you can fill this in and it comes to me. You can also search the blog. I'll show that in a second. But this is it's all chronological. So it shows the year and month. This particular post is this one, the Infinity Fuel post in April of 2022. So sometimes it's helpful to search that way, but oftentimes chronological isn't really terribly helpful. So you can actually use the search feature here. I'll just put in safety. A lot of people are interested in safety with liquid hydrogen. If I do a search on that, it'll pop up with what it finds in a blog post. So here's one of the myth-busting posts I made about hydrogen that talks about safety. And then I think the other one it'll come up with, is the Center for Hydrogen Safety presentation I gave on liquid hydrogen a few years ago. So that's a quick look at what's on the blog. There's a lot more, but I'm going to show you in a minute probably an easier way to look through these in a more categorized fashion. So let me drop out of this for now. We're back now at that homepage, www.moraninnovation.com. This is a video invitation to the webinar. You're welcome to take a look at. This goes to the actual details about the webinar and the registration. So if you did get the invitation on LinkedIn and you haven't registered yet, I would invite you to click on this button. You can also click here, it takes you to the same place. And let me show you that right now very quickly. This is actually the training page. So I'm kind of doing this organically, but you can also do it a little more formally if you just want to look at the different headings on the website. But excuse me, this is the training page. You can see that the webinar information here is shown. On all of these web pages, wherever it shows this kind of icon, that means you can actually open up a separate window, and it gives you the Google Doc that you can actually look at a little more closely. Sometimes it's easier to read this way. You can zoom in and so forth. So this is the information about the webinar. The different time zones that I'm going to be broadcasting it to try and catch folks when it's convenient for them and in whatever time zone they are globally. So 3 times a month, this sessions will be broadcast. And then here's those pre-tests again. So whether you use that pop-out or not, you can also do it in the web browser itself, look at the same information. And then this is a little more details about the why, what, when, and how of the webinar itself. Now, here's the registration button. Very easy to register. Right now, showing 53 registered, but there's more than that on LinkedIn Invite that I think have not registered here yet. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to point this out. You'll get there eventually on the day of the session, but if you wait till then, you'll have to go through this registration. It might lose a few minutes of time in the webinar, but you'll eventually get there. But this is information on the actual registration for the webinar itself. It's a Teams webinar. That was the one option that appeared to be available to the widest audience globally. And if you hit register button, there's just a few bits of information. The email address, of course, is critical because that's where the link to the webinar session itself will be sent to, and you would click on that and then you'll be live inside the webinar session when it starts. And a little bit more information, again, doesn't take long, pretty quick to fill out. Hit register and it will send you the email with the link and connection information. So let me cancel out of that. And I think we covered everything in here that I wanted to mention. So after you register, if you'd like to get some information about related topics that have been posted earlier, I've got an interview that I did with Think Tech Hawaii that talks about hydrogen in a bigger sense, a big picture sense of how it can be used as a core piece of energy system, either as a microgrid, a grid, or fueling. And then a couple of safety Center for Hydrogen Safety presentations I did. First one on liquid hydrogen, and then the later one on densified or zero boil-off systems, which have a few additional safety considerations to take in mind. And then this one's very popular. It's a pretty extensive slide deck that I did on liquid hydrogen systems development, past, present, and future. So it's looking at what's been done and when, and then current state of the art, and then some of the advancements that are occurring now and where things are going. And then finally, an architecture software that I put together for hydrogen renewables, hydrogen production using renewables that you can do system modeling with. I think, this is an important extra resource that I'm going to reference probably quite a bit during the webinars. This cryogenic fluid management report, and this table of contents is over here. You can look through this. It has a leaning currently towards space systems, but the fundamental thermodynamics, once you get past environments and mission drivers, which you can of course adapt to whatever your application is, but the rest of it is agnostic to the application. So if you're using a cryogen and you're going to probably doing most of these excuse me, operations, venting, pressurization, chill down, so forth, and you're going to have some kind of a storage vessel. All of this is applicable to that. So I have that available. There's a paperback version on Amazon for folks that prefer to read from paperback version, but I also have it available online. I'll click on this, and this is freely available to anyone that wants to look at it. Don't be too concerned about the cautionary note up here. I provide this as a PDF, personal PDF for folks that do a review on Amazon and then provide me some feedback about what they'd like to see in the next version of the report. So when I distribute that as an attachment, I just have that little notice up there that's not meant to be distributed or shared. You can actually zoom in a bit on this information to take a look at it. I'll do that just so it's a little maybe more visible here on this recording. Some upfront information that's typical. This is that feedback request I mentioned. So if you're interested, and you don't have to buy the book actually to get the PDF, you can use this online version. But if you go onto Amazon and give me a good, honest review about it, that's great feedback to help fine tune this report and make sure that it's meeting the needs of the readers and folks that are interested in it. And then a little bit of information. This is the Amazon link. By the way, these are all live links here on this online version. So if you click on any one of them, it'll take you to where it's pointed to. And a few frequently asked questions. Executive summary. But here's the contents. Let me zoom back out so maybe it's a little easier to see larger. I think the page numbers that it shows down here are off by about 1 page, but you can get close just by scrolling and watching this page number. Unfortunately, this is a Google Doc shared document with the features I have on it. It doesn't show the a navigation screen to the side here. The PDF version that I send to folks who do a review does have that. It's a little easier to navigate, but you can still navigate just by scrolling and looking at this table of contents. Or the other thing that is available here is if you find a particular item that you want to look at. Let's see if we can. Let's say you see the chill down and you'd like to see what's mentioned here in this report on chill down, and that is the process where you put in a cryogen and chill down the structure before you actually start flowing or filling a vessel. So if we hit chill down, it shows first up in the executive summary, and then in the table of contents where we're just looking at it. And then you can also see there's a couple of equations in here. This is under the equations part of the table of contents. And you won't lose any of these, by the way. It keeps all of the chilled down search, basically the search keyword highlighted throughout the document. So a couple of equations, a figure concerning chill down, and then an example of a pipe chill down, a calculation that's in the examples. And then finally, I think, yeah, it gets to the actual chapter that talks about chill down in more detail. So that's probably the easiest way to navigate inside this report if you have a particular topic in mind that you want to look at, or of course you can just read it front to back and see what is of interest. That's most of what's available on the report. And I also have supporting documents online for this report. One is a public GitHub repository. I'll open that up. If you're not familiar with GitHub, well, first of all, if you are, this is all open source under the Apache license, one of the more common open source licenses. And you can use any of the material in here subject to that open source license. If you don't have Python or Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter Lab loaded and aren't accustomed to using it, you can go to the bottom here under the README and click on this. This is an interactive session that started using this launch binder. So I'll hit that. It usually takes a few minutes. Sometimes it takes a little while longer if it's just putting it together for the first time on your machine. Occasionally it'll stop or crash. Just go back and try it again, and it'll usually start up for you.